Om Namo Narayana, and welcome back. Today we are reading the Dhyana Bindu Upanishad. Even if sin should accumulate to a mountain extending over many yojanas, it is destroyed by Dhyana Yoga. At no time has been found a destroyer of sins like this. Bija Shakara, the seed letter, is the supreme Bindu. Nada, the spiritual sound, is above it. When that nada ceases along with the letter, then the nada less is the supreme state. The yogin who considers as the highest that which is above nada, which is anahata, has all his doubts destroyed. If the point of a hair be divided into 100,000 parts, this nada is one half of that still further divided, and when even this is absorbed, the yogin attains to that stainless Brahman. One who is of a firm mind and without the delusion of sensual pleasures and ever resting in Brahman should see like the string in a rosary of beads all creatures as existing in Atman like odor in flowers, ghee in milk, oil in gingerly seeds, and gold in quartz. Again, just as the oil depends for its manifestation upon gingerly seeds and odor upon flowers, so does the Purusha depend for its existence upon the body, both external and internal. The tree is with parts, and its shadow is without parts, but with and without parts, Atman exists everywhere. The one Akshara, the letter Om, should be contemplated upon as Brahman by all who aspire for emancipation. Prithvi, Agni, Rigveda, Buh, and Brahman, all these are absorbed when Akara and the first part of Pranava become absorbed. Prithvi, Agni, Rigveda, Buh, and Brahman, all these are absorbed when A, the first part of Om, becomes absorbed. Antariksha, Yajurveda, Vayu, Bhuva, Vishnu, and the Janardana, all these are absorbed when U, the second part of the Pranava, Om, becomes absorbed. Dur, Sun, Samaveda, Svaha, and Maheshvara, all these are absorbed when M, the third part of the Pranava, Om, becomes absorbed. Akara, the A, is of a yellow color and is said to be of Raja Guna. The U is of a white color and of Sattva Guna, and the M is of a dark color and Tama Guna. He who does not know Om as having 8 parts, 4 feet, 3 seats, and 5 presiding deities is not a Brahmana. The Pranava Om is the bow, Atman is the arrow, and Brahman is said to be the aim. One should aim at it with great care, and then he, like an arrow, becomes one with it. When that highest is cognized, all karmas return from him and do not affect him. The Vedas have Omkara as their cause. The sounds have Omkara as their cause. The 3 worlds, with all the locomotive and fixed ones in them, have Omkara as their cause. The short accent of Om burns all sins. The long one is decay-less and the bestower of prosperity. United with a half meter of Om, the Pranava becomes the bestower of salvation. That man is the knower of the Vedas who knows that the end should be recited as uninterrupted as the flow of oil and resounding as long as the sound of a bell. One should contemplate upon Omkara as Ishvara, resembling an unshaken light, as of the size of a thumb, and as motionless in the middle of the pericarp of the lotus of the heart. Taking in Vayu through the left nostril and filling the stomach with it, one should contemplate upon Omkara as being in the middle of the body and as surrounded by circling flames. Brahma is said to be inspiration, Vishnu is said to be cessation of breath, and Rudra is said to be expiration. These are the devatas of pranayama. Having made Atman as the lower sacrificial wood and Pranava as the upper, one should see the god in secret through the practice of churning, which is dhyana. One should practice restraint of breath as much as it lies in his power, along with the uttering of Omkara, until it ceases completely. Those who look upon Om as of the form of Hamsa, staying in all, shining like crores of suns, being alone, and being devoid of motion, at last such persons are freed from sin. That Manas, which is the author of the actions, creation, preservation, and destruction of the three worlds, is then absorbed in the Supreme One. That is the highest state of Vishnu. The lotus of the heart has 8 petals and 32 filaments. The sun is in its midst. The moon is in the middle of the sun. Agni is in the middle of the moon. The spiritual light is in the middle of Agni. The seat is the midst of the spiritual light, being set in diverse gems. One should meditate upon the stainless Lord Vasudeva as being seated upon the center of the seat, as having a black mark and a kaustubha gem on his chest, and adorned with gems and pearls resembling pure crystal in luster, and as resembling crores of moons in brightness. He should meditate upon Mahavishnu as above, or in the following manner. That is, he should meditate with inspiration of breath upon Mahavishnu as resembling the Atasi flower, and as saying in the seat of the navel with 4 hands. Then, with restraint of breath, he should meditate in the heart upon Brahma, the grandfather, as being on the lotus, with the pale red color of gems, and having 4 faces. Then, through expiration, he should meditate upon the 3-eyed Shiva between the 2 eyebrows, shining like the pure crystal, being stainless, destroying all sins, being in that which is like the lotus facing down with its flower below, and the stalk above, or like the flower of a plantain tree, being of the form of all Vedas, containing 100 petals and 100 leaves, and having the pericarp full expanded. There he should meditate upon the sun, the moon, and Agni, one above another, passing above through the lotus, which has the brightness of the moon, sun, and Agni, and taking its Hrim Bija letter. One leads his Atman firmly by doing so. He is the knower of Vedas, who knows the 3 seats, the 3 matras, the 3 brahmans, the 3 aksharas, and the 3 matras associated with the Ardha Matra. He who knows that which is above Bindu, Nada, and Kala as uninterrupted as the flow of oil, and resounding as long as the bell, that man is a knower of the Vedas. Just as a man would draw up with his mouth the water through the pores of the lotus stalk, so the yogin treading the path of yoga should draw up his breath. Having made the lotus sheath of the form of Ardha Matra, one should draw up the breath through the stalk of the nadis Susumna, Ida, and Pingala, and absorb it in the middle of his eyebrows. He should know that the middle of the eyebrows, in the forehead, which is also the root of the nose at the seat of the nectar, that is the great place of Brahman. Postures, restraint of breath, subjugation of the senses, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi are the 6 parts of yoga. There are as many postures as there are living creatures, and Maheshvara knows their distinguishing features. Siddha, Bhadra, Simha, and Padma are the 4 chief postures. Muladhara is the first chakra, Svadhisthana is the second. Between these 2 is said to be the seat of Yoni, having the form of Kama. In the Adhara of the anus there is the lotus of the 4 petals. In its midst is said to be the Yoni called Kama, and worshipped by the Siddhas. In the midst of the Yoni is the Linga, facing the west and split at its head like a gem. He who knows this is a knower of the Vedas. A 4-sided figure is situated above Agni and below the genital organ, of the form of molten gold and shining like streaks of lightning. Prana is with its own sound, having Svadhisthana as its seat. The chakra Svadhisthana is spoken of as the genital organ itself. The chakra is in the sphere of the navel. The chakra in the sphere of the navel is called the Maniparaka, since the body is pierced through by Vayu like gems on a string. The ego is urged to actions by its past virtues, while sinful karmas whirl about in this great chakra of 12 spokes, so long as it does not grasp the truth. Above the genital organ and below the navel is Khanda, of the shape of a bird's egg. There arise from it nadis, 72,000 in number. Of these, 72 are generally known. The chief ones are 10 and carry the pranas. Ida, Pingala, Susna, Gandhari, Hasti Jiva, Pusha, Yasavini, Alambusa, Kuha, and Shankini are said to be the 10. This chakra of the nadis should ever be known by the yogins. The 3 nadis of Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna are said to carry prana always and have as their devatas Moon, Sun, and Agni. Ida is on the left side and Pingala on the right, while Sushumna is in the middle. These 3 are known to be the paths of prana. Prana, Apana, Samana, Udana, and Vyana. These 5 are called the pranas. Naga, Karma, Krikara, Devadatta, and Dhananshava are called Vayus, or sub-pranas. All these are situated or run along the 1,000 nadis, being in the form of or producing life. Jiva, which is under the influence of prana, and apana, goes up and down. Jiva, on its account of ever moving by the left and right paths, is not visible, just as a ball struck down on the earth with the bat of the hand springs up. So Jiva, ever tossed by prana and apana, is never at rest. He is a knower of yoga who knows that prana always draws itself from apana, and apana draws itself from prana, like a bird drawing itself from, and yet not freeing itself from, the string to which it is tied. The jiva comes out with the letter ha, and gets in again with the letter sa. Thus jiva always utters the mantra hamsa. The jiva always utters the mantra 21,600 times in one day and night. This is called Ajapa Gayatri and is ever the bestower of nirvana to the yogins. Through its very thought, man is freed from sins. Neither in the past nor in the future is there a science equal to this, a japa equal to this, or a meritorious action equal to this. Parameshvari sleeps, shutting her mouth, that door which leads to the tailless Brahman. Being aroused by the contact of Agni with Manas and Prana, she takes the form of a needle and pierces through Sushumna. The yogin should open with great effort this door which is shut. Then he will pierce the door to salvation by means of Kundalini. Folding firmly the fingers of the hand, assuming firmly the Padma posture, placing the chin firmly on the breast, and fixing the mind in dhyana, one should frequently raise up the apana, fill up with air, and then leave the prana. Then the wise man gets matchless wisdom through this Shakti. That yogin who, assuming Padma posture, worships Vayu at the door of the nadis, and then performs restraint of breath, is released without doubt. Rubbing off the limbs, the sweat arising from fatigue, abandoning all acid, bitter and saltish food, taking delight in the drinking of milk and rasa, practicing celibacy, being moderate in eating, and ever bent on yoga, the yogin becomes a siddha in a little more than a year. No inquiry needed to be made concerning the result. Kundalini Shakti, when it is up in the throat, makes the yogi get siddhi. The union of prana and apana has the extinction of urine and feces. One becomes young, even when old, through performing Mula Bandha always, pressing the yoni by means of the heels and contracting the anus and drawing up the apana. This is called Mula Bandha. Uddiyana Bandha is so called because it is like a great bird that flies up always without rest. One should bring the western part of the stomach above the navel. This Uddiyana Bandha is a lion to the elephant of death, since it binds the water of the akasha which arises in the head and flows down. The Jalandhara Bandha is the destroyer of all the pains of the throat. When this Jalandhara Bandha, which is the destroyer of the pains of the throat, is performed, then nectar does not fall on Agni, nor does the Vayu move. When the tongue enters backwards into the hole of the skull, then there is the mudra, a vision latent in the eyebrow, called Kechari. He who knows the mudra Kechari has not disease, death, sleep, hunger, thirst, nor swoon. He who practices this mudra is not affected by illness, nor karma, nor is he bound by the limitations of time. This Kechari mudra is worshipped by the siddhas. He whose passage above the uvula is closed with the tongue backwards by means of Kechari mudra never loses his virility, even when embraced by a lovely woman. Where is the fear of death so long as the virility stays in the body. This virility, or bindu, does not go out of the body so long as the Kshari mudra is practiced. Even when the bindu comes down to the sphere of the perineum, it goes up, being prevented and forced up by the violent effort through yoni mudra. This bindu is twofold, white and red. The white one is called Sukla, and the red one is said to contain Moksha Rajas. The Rajas which stays in the yoni is like the color of a coral. The bindu stays in the seat of the genital organs. The union of these two is very rare. Bindu is Shiva and Rajas is Shakti. Bindu is the moon and Rajas is the sun. Through the union of these two is attained the highest body. When Rajas is roused up by agitating the Shakti through Vayu, which unites with the sun, thence is produced the divine form. Shukla being united with the moon and Rajas with the sun, he is a knower of yoga who knows the proper mixture of these two. The cleansing of the accumulated refuse, the unification of the sun and the moon, and the complete drying of the rasas, this is called Maha Mudra. Placing the chin on the breast, pressing the anus by means of the left heel, and seizing the toe of the extended right leg by the two hands, one should fill his belly with air and should slowly exhale. This is called Maha Mudra, the destroyer of the sins of men. Now I shall give a description of Atman. In the seat of the heart is a lotus of 8 petals. In its center is Jivatma in the form of Jyotis and atomic in size, moving in a circular line. In it is located everything. It knows everything. It does everything. It does all these actions attributing everything to its own power, thinking, I do, I enjoy, I am happy, I am miserable, I am blind, I am lame, I am deaf, I am mute, I am lean, I am stout, etc., etc. When it rests on the eastern petal, which is of the white color, then it has a mind, or is inclined to dharma, with bhakti. When it rests on the southeastern petal, which is of the blood color, then it is inclined to sleep and laziness. When it rests on the southern petal, which is of the black color, then it is inclined to hate and anger. When it rests on the southwestern petal, which is of the blue color, then it gets desire for sinful or harmful actions. When it rests on the western petal, which is of the crystal color, then it is inclined to flirt and amuse. When it rests on the northwestern petal, which is of a ruby color, then it has a mind to walk, rove, and be indifferent. When it rests on the northern petal, which is a yellow color, then it is inclined to be happy and to be loving. When it rests on the northeastern petal, which is of the lapis lazuli color, then it is inclined to be amassing money, charity, and possession. When it stays in the interspace between any 2 petals, then it gets the wrath arising from diseases generated through the disturbance of the equilibrium of vayu, bile, and phlegm in the body. When it stays in the middle, then it knows everything, sings, dances, speaks, and is blissful. When the eye is pained after a day's work, then in order to remove its pain, it makes first a circular line and sinks in the middle. The first line is of the color of the banduka flower. Then is the state of sleep. In the middle of the state of sleep is the state of dream. In the middle of the state of dream, it experiences the ideas of perception, Vedas, inference, possibility, sacred words, etc. Then there arises much fatigue. In order to remove this fatigue, it circles the second line and sinks in the middle. The second is of the color of the insect Indra Gopa, being of red or white color. Then comes the state of dreamless sleep. During the state of dreamless sleep, it has only the thought connected with Parameshvara alone. This state is of the nature of eternal wisdom. Afterwards it attains the nature of Parameshvara. Then it makes a round of the third circle and sinks in the middle. The third circle is of the color of a ruby. Then comes the state of Turiya, the fourth. In Turiya there is only the connection of Paramatman. It attains the nature of eternal wisdom. Then one should gradually attain the quiescence of buddhi with self-control. Placing the manas in Atman, one should think of nothing else. Then, causing the union of prana and apana, he concentrates his aim upon the whole universe, being of the nature of Atman. Then comes the state of Turiyatita, that being the state beyond the fourth. Then everything appears as bliss. He is beyond the pairs of happiness and pain, etc. He stays here as long as he should wear his body. Then he attains the nature of Paramatman and attains emancipation through this means. This alone is the means of knowing Atman. When Vayu, which enters the great hole associated with a hall where four roads meet, gets into the half of the well-placed triangle, this is the indestructible scene. Above the aforesaid triangle one should meditate the 5 bija letters of the elements, Prithi, etc. As also on the 5 pranas, the color of the bijas and their position. The letter Ya is the bija prana and resembles the blue cloud. The letter Rah is the bija of Agni, is of Apana and resembles the sun. The letter Lah is the bija of Prithvi, is of Vayana and resembles the Bandukya flower. The letter Va is the bija of Jiva, is of Udana and is of the color of the conch. The letter Ha is the bija of Akasha, is of Samana and is the color of crystal. Prana stays in the heart, navel, nose, ear, foot, finger, and other places, travels through the 72,000 nadis, stays in the 28 crores of hair pores, and is yet the same everywhere. It is that which is called Jiva. One should perform the 3, expiration, etc., with a firm will and in great control, and drawing in everything with the breath in slow degrees. He should bind prana and apana in the cave of the lotus of the heart, and utter pranava, having contracted his throat and the genital organ. From the head to the susuma, resembling the shining throat of the lotus, the nada is located in the spinal column. That sound from its middle resembles that of a conch. When it goes to the hole of Akasa, it resembles that of a peacock. In the middle of the cave of the skull, between the 4 doors, shines Atman, like the sun in the sky. Between the 2 bows and the Brahma hole, one should see Purusha with Shakti as his own Atman. Then his manas is absorbed there. That man attains Kaivalya, who understands the gems, the moonlight Nada Bindu, and the seat of Maheshvara. Wow. And that ends, wow, a very theologically interesting and detailed Upanishad. There was a lot here. It's one of those Upanishads that's well worth going over again. Again, away from me reading it, looking up on Wikipedia to figuring out things. Some of these are very, very complicated. But you may have noticed as I did reading this, a lot of things coming up that we've talked about before. It is fascinating how all these Upanishads, they do reflect on each other. That is the key here to the great wisdom literature of Sanatana Dharma. It all reflects on each other. It all works together. There are religions out there who they have their own text, and the text supposedly connect up with some other text, but really they just kind of reinvent the wheel. Or someone comes up with a text brand new as though nothing else has ever existed. Look, I just wrote this historical book, and this book is me dictating from God, and comes out of nowhere. That might work for you, but I find something very fascinating about a religion that has all these texts. I don't even know how many. It's mindless. Well, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. Yet they reflect on each other and they work together. There's something very fascinating about this. I can't quite put it in the words. Hopefully you understand it, and hopefully you enjoyed that. So thank you for hanging out with me and working through these 108 Upanishads with me. And Jai Krish. Ah, man, hang on one second. It takes a lot to sit here and read for 30 minutes, just about. It really does. So please excuse me for messing up my words, and this isn't the first video I did today. So let's try this again. Ah, Jai Shri Krishna.